LeBron against Michael Jordan. And the only two that he's won in is the amount of years he's played, and he's got one assist title, and Michael Jordan never
that
had.
You love both of us without trying to shh on the other person. And usually it's the shh on me, but I know for sure that I've done my part.
But LeBron is the one who puts the crown on his head. LeBron is the one who has said he's the GOAT. Michael doesn't say that.
Do any of us expect or desire for him to just go on Twitter or have a press conference and announce that it's over?
And the reason being, and I've told you this a few times, Stephen A., Wilbon, Molly, is because it's no...
In his top 10 players of all time, and went on to say this, quote, I really like LeBron, but I think if Jordan had
We're running out of time, Kenny. I'll say this to you. Shockingly, I'm glad you're sitting down. I agree with you. He's moving closer to that GOAT status.
He's the only one who gets to say, I'm the greatest. Ali invented the conversation. He was, and to me,
it was
still
never
is
about
the greatest.
That stuff. It's about the fact that this man is one of the greatest players to have ever lived, but in clear aspirations,
my career
pursuing
wouldn't be what
Michael
it
is if it were not for people like him. Yours wouldn't either, Doggy, or Wilbon. None
Our
of
David
us.
Beneman posted an article to ESPN.com in which LeBron James addressed the comparisons often made between him and one and only Michael Jordan. And he said this, quote, there are a lot of things that MJ did better than I do. And I think there are some things that I do better than him. That's just how the game goes. There's a lot of things that I can say in particular. You already know how this conversation is going to be misinterpreted by people, man. And then McManaman asks, has it been a burden as an adult, that ambition? Because now everybody brings it up. You can't escape the comparison. To which LeBron responded by saying, quote, no, I think it's a very tiring conversation. It's barbershop talk. You can look at both of us and say that you love both of us without trying to shh on the other person. And usually it's the shh on me. But I know for sure that I've done my part in this journey. And more than anything, I hope, and I don't know, but I hope I made him proud at least wearing that number 23, end quote.
Everything that LeBron James said was right on point. When he dissected the difference between his game, Michael Jordan, how he looked at things, how he approaches the game. He looked to pass first. Michael Jordan looked to shoot first, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things are accurate. I didn't have a single syllable that he uttered until the last line, when he talked about you can look at two guys without, for the purpose of shitting on somebody. But obviously, it's usually somebody doing that to me. That is where the problem lies. Because what we don't talk about enough, Wilbon and Doggy, is as great as LeBron James is and how much he deserves to be celebrated, we don't talk about what he has done to hurt, not the game, but narratives associated with the game because of how he responds to it. I looked it up, Wilbon and Doggy. Do y'all know that there have been over 5,400 players in NBA history that have played in the NBA? I have LeBron.
And LeBron talked about in those comments to Dave McManaman, he talked about what Jordan thinks of him. And I know a little bit of that. And I'm probably going to go off-road in a way I shouldn't, because, some of these conversations have been private over the years, but I'm going to mention one of them. Early in LeBron's career, I remember when, there was some criticism in the playoffs when LeBron did not. It took LeBron 7 years like it took Michael. And there were tough criticisms made of LeBron James. Remember, he took the jersey off when he's walking out of Boston that final time when he lost to the Celtics. And I remember having a conversation with Michael, who said, hey, take it easy. When you talk about this tomorrow, take it easy on this kid, and here's why. And Michael had a list of reasons of things that he really liked about LeBron James. He didn't have to do that, but he understood what was going to go on publicly because he'd been on the other end of that early in his career. People don't remember this when folks said, beat Detroit 3 times, lost to the Pistons in a row, by the way, in the playoffs. So Michael understood that. Talk about despair in the playoffs. And so he wanted to soften that blow for LeBron James, who was coming up later. So if people think that Jordan has somehow resented LeBron, they're wrong.
False.
You know Stephen A. because we've had these conversations where he has said, "Hey,
I've had it with Jordan.
Just don't." Everything LeBron said in that interview with Dave McMenamin, everything he said is right on the money. Everything he said. But LeBron is the one who puts the crown on his head. LeBron is the one who has said he's the GOAT. Michael doesn't say that. And the conversation has become tiresome to me because you're almost required to say something negative about the person you aren't supporting in the argument. We're all entrenched in our positions. I'm entrenched in mine. Jordan's the GOAT. It ain't going to change. LeBron is one of the top, depending on what day you talk to me, 2, 3, 4, 5 players of all time, depending on whether I'm going to have Magic above him or Kareem above him or Kobe above him or not, or have LeBron 2. Top 5. Anybody who's insulted by that. So I think we have to tune some of that out. But LeBron is so, one of the difficult.
Gentlemen, take a look at this quote. So speaking at Sports Business Journal's conference earlier this week, Michael Jordan's longtime agent, David Falk, said LeBron is, quote, probably in his top 10 players of all time, and went on to say this, quote, I really like LeBron, but I think if Jordan had cherry-picked what teams he wanted to be on and 2 other superstars, he would have won 15 championships. Michael Wilbon.
10. How about 10 to 12?
10 to 12. Michael Wilbon, are these comments fair or foul?
Of course they're fair. He's his longtime agent. David Falk's not a neutral observer. He's a provocateur. I've known him way more than half my life. Neighbor, news source for many years, now friend. He's a provocateur. He's there to agitate for Michael Jordan. Has anybody ever had a person do any better than David Falk on behalf of clients? I think not. And so he's not a neutral observer. He's making this comment about his dear, dear close friend, he was the advisor, mentee, Michael Jordan. Would he have 15? Not 15. Would he have more? Yeah. The notion about LeBron, the reason I hate the GOAT conversation, it almost requires you to say something negative about someone. There's nothing negative to say about LeBron. There isn't. There just isn't. The basketball player, nothing negative. He's one of the greatest of all time in any team sport, period. Is he Michael Jordan to people like me? You want to be David Falk? No, never going to be. I'm not going to say that LeBron has to be seen as better than Magic. I'm not going to say LeBron has to be seen better than Kobe Bryant. Not going to say it. So if David Falk wants to say that as someone who is tag teamed with Michael Jordan for decades, he can say it. And the people who are upset because it's not good enough to say LeBron is one of the handful of greatest players ever. If that's not good enough for you, too bad.
This conversation is when we debate the GOAT, the negativity of it comes from LeBron and his camp, nobody else. When we say he's number 2 all time, we're appreciating the fact that of the thousands upon thousands of players that have played in the NBA since 1950 rather, okay? LeBron James, there's only one player we look at and we say definitively we think was better. And that was Michael Jordan. What did I say to Rich Paul one day? You act like that's an insult. Rich Paul's response, it is an insult. Because that is how they have acted when it comes to the GOAT conversation. And that's why a guy like Mike Wilbon has been on the #1 show in sports television for the last 25 years. Congratulations to you and my man Tony Kornheiser. We're #1 in the mornings. They're #1, period. They're #1, period. We know our place. Here's the deal. Mike Wilbon has said this publicly. We're not some PR machine for you. Didn't you say that about LeBron and his kid? You said we ain't some PR. You know, we gonna watch what we watch, and we come to one. Even in saying that he's the greatest you've ever seen, Kendrick Perkins, you have said, ain't no damn PR machine. I'll say what I mean and mean what I say. Mm-hmm. So you just happen to feel that he's the greatest, but you were recognizing the fact that they were trying to compel people to say he was the greatest. Michael Jordan didn't say that about himself. Kobe Bryant didn't say that about himself. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't say that about himself. Bill Russell didn't say that about himself. Tim Duncan didn't say that about himself. Nobody said that. Nobody but him.
in his camp. Steph Curry hasn't said that about himself. Steph Curry has never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Ray Allen never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Reggie Miller never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Allen Houston never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Nobody called themselves the greatest in anything but that man in his camp. And then when we refuted in any way, people like myself and Mike Wilbon and others, when we walk the streets, we're haters. So the debate and the vitriol and all of that stuff it comes directly from them.
Mentioned. None of them say, I was the greatest. I was the greatest. I had these conversations with Kobe Bryant and Michael and Magic, and they always would say, wait a minute.
So did I.
They point to other guys, as you know, and say, wait. Kobe and Michael would say, wait a minute, he didn't win as many championships with Jerry West. Hold on, you better mention Kareem. They would all mention Bill Russell. So the notion that anyone is saying I'm the greatest, there's one guy in the history of sports I give total pass to saying I'm the greatest, and that's where GOAT comes from, Muhammad Ali. He's the only one who gets to say I'm the greatest. Ali invented the conversation. He was, and to me still is, the greatest because he didn't just change his sport. He didn't just change sports. He changed the world.
Changed society.
He changed the nation's position on war. So Muhammad Ali is the GOAT, and he can say, I'm the greatest. Everybody else needs to defer.
Let's leave it on that.
Back with us. Are you encouraged by the Lakers or discouraged by the Rockets, Kenny?
Well, I would say encouraged by the Lakers, because when you have a basketball team that you say you have an A, B, and C option, and Luka Doncic was A, you had Austin Reeves at B, and LeBron James was at C. And now your C option is leading guys who are probably were just space guys who can create space for you. Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, and DeAndre Ayton have really played exceptionally well, while the C option is leading us. And I will say this, you talked about me being blasphemous earlier about talking about the Knicks, but LeBron James has moved a slight bit closer to the legacy of Michael Jordan in my mind, because this is incredible that a guy who's 41 years old is leading a team this way. Because if I was 25 years old and a 40-year-old walked into the park, I would be like, oh, this is an easy win today, because he cannot sustain the type of effort that he would need. But he is making three guys who were really just thought of to space the floor, mark and defend. Marcus Smart, come and defend. Luke Kennard, space the floor. And DeAndre Ayton, rim run. He has made them prominent offensive threats right now, which is incredible.
We're running out of time, Kenny. I'll say this to you. Shockingly, I'm glad you're sitting down. I agree with you. He's moving closer to that GOAT status. I agree with you, because I think what he's done is phenomenal. To be on the Mount Rushmore of basketball as one of the top 4 players in the history of basketball, and to be deferential to Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic throughout the year, to play all 5 positions, even a center at one point in time, to a triple-double 1 minute, 30-piece another minute, doing whatever it takes to win. You can't say enough about LeBron James. He's been absolutely phenomenal. But the answer to this question is the disappointment in the Houston Rockets. I mean, you're 10 for 34. That's 29% on wide.